When it comes to social media, do you get lost trying to navigate your way down the old rabbit hole of organic outreach? Now, I know for myself, I'll go to make a post and all I could think of is
you could do so you do.
Now, if this sounds familiar, then I have a treat for you in this episode. Today, we're going all the way to the land of beautiful scenery, bagpipes, kilts, and fried Mars bars. I'm talking about Scotland. I had a talk with the amazing Eilidh Moyes, graphics and social media manager for E2E Studios, and she has some, how shall I say, revolutionary ideas and insights when it comes to organic outreach on social media, among other things. And we'll get into it right now. What's up, guys, and welcome along to another episode of Telecast PH, the Telework PH Business Process Outsourcing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to breaking through the cultural barriers and changing the way we look at outsourcing to the Philippines. I'm BizDev Jeff, your host, and I'm the Business Development Manager for Telework PH. Thank you so much for joining, and as always, a special thank you to all who have been listening and following my content on LinkedIn and Instagram. And if you haven't yet and you want to find me on those platforms, all you got to do is search BizDev Jeff. Connect with me and I'll show you how outsourcing a dedicated full-time virtual assistant or a team of virtual assistants from Telework PH can open up a whole new world. And in return, you'll be helping our mission to make an impact on poverty right here in the Philippines. Right, so on to today's episode and guest. We're going down the rabbit hole of social media with Eilidh Moyes, graphics and social media manager for E2E Studios, way over there in Scotland. Now, I met Eilidh on LinkedIn. I'd seen her content and it was interesting. It was different. But then I saw one of her posts featuring her rabbit, Fudge. And at that point, I just knew that she was onto something. And as usual, I was right. After having the following conversation with Eilidh, I started questioning my own approach to social media, and I've actually made a few changes based on her suggestions, and I got to tell you, it has upped my game. She has what some would say are some radical ideas that might take you by surprise, but she is blazing a trail for herself based on her passion and really making an impact all before the age of 30, which is truly, truly amazing. Now, this episode does run a little bit longer than most. Normally, when I do a podcast, I edit out some of it to make up for time. But this one I left as is. There's simply just too much value. And with social media being such a struggle for so many brands and businesses, well, I just didn't want to skip anything or leave anything out. And another thing I don't want to skip is giving you the chance to subscribe to this podcast. And if you're on the YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it if you'd go ahead and give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for notifications when I upload new content. I've heard people get like 7 years of good karma when they do. So now if you're ready, let's take that trip down the rabbit hole. Hey guys, what's up? I got Eilidh Moyes all the way from Scotland with us today to talk about social media, digital marketing, and everything else in between. Eilidh, how's it going?
Hi, thanks for having me. It's going all right. It's very snowy here. It's been snowing all day, so very cold, but really excited to be on this podcast.
Well, excited to have you and excited to hear about the snow. You know, I've been here in the Philippines for so long. I haven't seen snow, and when I was my last year in Ohio, I couldn't wait to get away from it, and now it's all I think about on these tropical days. So
I'm sure that I want away from it just now, but if I was anywhere else, I would miss it.
Oh yeah, you'd miss it. Trust me on that. What city are you in?
So I'm actually in a tiny, tiny, tiny little farming village, which no one knows of. But the closest sort of city or town would be Dunfermline. And then the closest major city to Dunfermline, I would say, would be Edinburgh. So I'm out in the
Edinburgh.
sticks.
Okay, so I've heard of Edinburgh, but the rest I'm not. The other one I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Now
Yes.
I can do a Scottish accent, but I'm not going to. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do it. I can try. I can do the Mel Gibson type Scottish accent. And Mel, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But anyway, so you want to just hop right in and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into
Sure.
social media marketing?
Sure. So I don't know how far back we want to go, all the way back to my junior years or what.
You can go
But I'll
back
go
to
back
birth
to.
if you'd like.
I don't think that's a pretty story. Yeah, so I spent over 5 years studying digital media. I graduated over 3 years ago, and 3 years I have managed to accomplish quite a lot. My first year, I managed to get products designed and developed, and they're on sale. I've worked in an agency and practically helped run an agency, and then moved on to work at a very well established company called the House of Brewer. After that, I decided that coming home back to my roots was the better option for me because I do have some mental health. And I missed my animals. I missed Fudge, who's incredibly important. Um, then lockdown happened, and the job that I managed to get back home, the person decided he didn't need any marketing or any digital stuff anymore, and I lost my job. I joined another job, which was mostly there just to pay bills, because got bills to pay, you got to work, unfortunately. And I decided it wasn't for me. I wasn't enjoying it. But two of my friends had started a business, which was E2E Studios. They offered me to come and join them, which I have, and I'm absolutely loving it. The support the guys give me is absolutely amazing. Possibly the best support I've ever experienced on a professional level, as well as a friend level. The guys started up in April 2020, so this was when E2E Studios was born, if you will. And we've been trading, doing websites, social media, graphics, anything digital that we can get our hands on. We're more than happy to work with it. My guys are absolutely amazing magicians when it comes to code, because I'm not a developer, they're developers. I'm the
Right.
designer. I make things look pretty. So I don't know what they do in depth. I can't begin to understand it. But all I know is I give them the stuff. I go, this is how I want it to look, and this is how we want it to work. And they somehow make it happen. So that's absolutely amazing.
So it was you started this business E2E was E2E Studios started like damn near right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, pretty much. My friends started it in April 2020, start of the pandemic. They had lost their jobs. I was in a job at the time, just paying bills, just something to keep me
Mm-hmm.
going. And then come October 2020, they offered me to join them. And since then, I've managed to get our reach up to like 4,000 people, all organically without any paid adverts. Their original online presence was zero. So it's been a
Awesome.
challenge, but to get it to where it is, I'm quite happy. Might not be the fastest growing agency in the world, but it's one that we actually care about what we do, which I think a lot of agencies kind of forget about. The customer is, the key point.
Well, yeah, and that is the goal of every business is to organically grow because those paid ads are the number one, they're expensive,
Yes.
and number two, there's uh, I'm not going to say there's no guarantee because they can be targeted. However, organically growing through social media, uh, you're almost more guaranteed to hit your target audience. Correct,
Yeah.
or am I
Yeah.
off?
So I always want to grow a base first organically, because then you know that these people are actually engaged. These people have seen your stuff and they want to know more. Whereas your paid adverts, you can get leads generated through it. Like, we do run paid adverts if we have to. We'd prefer not to, but at the end of the day, to get a bigger reach, you have to do it. But your organic base is the one that you want to be focusing on. because these are the people that will refer you. These are the people that will come back for work, or they'll start a new project. These are the people that are going to be your support base because they've engaged with you organically. You haven't forced your message down their throat.
Which platform do you find most beneficial, or does it differ per like business model?
So to me, it totally depends on what your business is and what you're wanting to get out of it.
Mhm.
If you're a service-based business, forget about Twitter. It's not worth it, because it'll just become a platform for people to complain on, for people to ask for help. So you'll have to be on top of it, like at least every minute, be on top of it and make
Right.
sure that the questions that are being asked are answered quickly. If someone's got a complaint, you have to be on top of that because then it can just become a bandwagon of complaints. But if you're an entertainment business, so Twitch streaming gets they get a lot of like traction with Twitter because it's more, you don't have to really watch too much what you're saying. You can have a bit of banter, you can be silly. There's not such strict sort of brand or corporate guidelines. If you're very political, it's a good way to kind of reach out and be involved in politics. But most of the time, I recommend the businesses that we've had, I recommend avoiding Twitter. It's too busy and it's not really geared for business. It is very much geared for more social interaction. LinkedIn, so that's kind of a tricky one. LinkedIn, people want to interact with the person more than they want to interact with the business. So I know that I have a higher following and a higher interaction rate than the E2E Studios page. And that is because people want to see my videos of my rabbit, or they want to see me snowboarding or sledging or doing drawings. They want to know the person. They do not care
Right.
about the brand. And my most interactive post has been one with me and Fudge. And it's just me going, "This is my rabbit."
And
How's it going?
that's what I told you. That's the one that stood out to me, and that's when I connected with you. And I think that another one of my connections had either liked it or shared it. I saw that, and I'm like, oh, no, that's cool, because your tagline is,
It's following the rabbit down the
following
hole
the.
of social media, which is a reference to Alice in Wonderland if anyone's ever read or watched it.
So tell us about the rabbit hole. Well, I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you. We were talking about the platforms yet.
Yeah, we'll go through the platforms first.
Okay.
So yeah, LinkedIn is good for B2B, business to business. It's not very good for B2C, which is business to customer. And people want to know you. You'll find that those that do well on LinkedIn, so that's like Dan Brown, who from ThinkWell, who's been mentoring me and helping me. That's Leah Turner, James Austin, the duck guy of social media. All of these people have quite personal stuff on their LinkedIn. So that's like photos of their family, talking about mental health, not business focused posts, are doing really well. They're getting more connections. They're getting genuine conversations and people that want to follow them and chat to them. And it's leading to work, which I think is absolutely amazing. I'm still learning it because I need to stop sharing business posts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough one. LinkedIn's really hard. I've done paid adverts on LinkedIn, and I'm telling everyone now, there is no bloody point. I have never ever in my life on LinkedIn clicked on an advert. I scroll past it. I click on people's profiles and I click on what people are posting. So that should be the main focus. Paying for an advert will not get you a return on LinkedIn. It's just not that platform anymore. So Google Ads, if you have a huge budget, and I'm talking thousands, then it's worth it. Because you'll find that the keywords that you think you need will become common and there'll be a really high competition behind them. the keywords that you think aren't so common are probably not so common for a reason, because people are not searching them.
Right, makes sense.
You know, people go for the low paid keywords. You're not going to get the traction because, again, it's not something that's being searched enough to generate you business. So you really do have to have a huge budget to put in behind these Google ads to make it viable. Some people get away with putting a couple £100 behind it because maybe their business is unique, the way that they've worded the advert is unique. But in general, unless you've got a big budget to throw behind it, don't touch it. I know that a lot of startups that I've worked with automatically jump to Google ads. They'll come back and be like, oh, we didn't get anything from it. And I'm like, okay, well, I told you wouldn't, because of, you know, say it's a real estate agent, you've got big guys like Zoopla out there.
Right.
You need to be above those guys, kind of thing. So
yeah, that's you're not the first one to that I've heard say that about both of those platforms, about LinkedIn ads and the Google ads. That it's I mean, the LinkedIn ads. I mean, you're absolutely right when you said, you've never clicked on a company. I don't think I've ever clicked on a company page, but yeah, I have clicked on people's profiles and I have checked them out. What are they all about? Read their and like the personal brands. I guess is what you call them.
yeah, personal
I
brand.
know, yeah, and I know with my own with Telework PH, you know, putting posts out for Telework PH, nobody pays attention to them.
No
Very very
one,
few.
like, if you think about the situation we're in, people are craving that one-to-one, that human interaction, and they are flooded with digital. So you have to try and show that human side now, because who knows when we're going to get back to normal. I know that I miss my friends that are in Edinburgh because I can't travel to see them. I miss my friends in Alloa, again, can't travel to see them. And I am fed up of our Zoom call and our Zoom meetings and our video chats, because I'd rather actually go and see them. And I think that people need to reflect on what their own behaviors are to really start to understand where they need to be. So I use a lot of my own behaviors as a sort of starting point. And then in a discovery meeting with a client, I'll go, right, what are your online behaviors? Like, what are you clicking on? Kind of thing. Just to help them understand how that works. So say someone's here for a website SEO review, and I'm like, look, your load time's about 5 seconds. And they're like, oh, well, that's not too bad. I'm like, yeah, but if a website doesn't load for you in 2 to 3 seconds, you're clicking off the thing, aren't you?
Right, you're clicking away. Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, it's always good to refer back to the client as well and being like, right, but what about your behaviors? Because your behaviors are going to be similar to that of the everyday person.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's important is you have to look at things from the outside. I mean, it's easy, to think, well, that's okay, like you just said. But I mean, when you're looking at your content, your website, they have those view as somebody else, like on Facebook. You say view as a visitor, view as somebody like that. To look at, like you said, look at that from the outside and see your own behaviors. That's an important point that I have never heard anybody say before.
Yeah, it's so hugely important. Like, I know on Facebook there is adverts that I click on because I'll be scrolling through. I'm not there for any objective other than to scroll through and see what's going on. I'm not there to try and find business. I'm not there to make an impression. I'm just scrolling through my newsfeed to see what's happening. And every so often an advert pops up and I'm like, actually, that looks kind of cool. So that's why the Facebook adverts, and I think kind of Instagram's a different story, but the Facebook adverts are getting that better traction because people are scrolling through their account. They're not really in a rush. They're not looking for anything specific. And then your brand shows up and it might be say it's an advert for an online class, for example, you might just hit that person who's looking for that class because of the way the Facebook targets. And you're likely to get more engagement because that person isn't on Facebook with an ulterior agenda. It's just there to have a look. So you've already got an engaged audience. You know, so if you think about that, I've clicked on adverts. I'm sure you've probably clicked on a few adverts yourself.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking about that because I was shopping for a couch, and I it's just funny that you mentioned that because I actually searched on Facebook for people in my area that were that sold couches, not just the big furniture stores.
Yeah.
And now I'm bombarded on my Facebook of different companies that have couches, and I keep clicking on it because I'm still looking for a new couch. And it's actually relevant. But yeah, and it is because I will have forgotten really that I'm looking for a new couch, and I'm looking through my news feed, just seeing what my friends are up to, who's posting what, and then boom, here's this beautiful couch, and like, okay, let me check that out. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the targeting on Facebook's become really advanced. It's got to a point now where if you've got the right person behind you to do the back end stuff, I don't recommend doing it yourself unless you understand how that works. And I don't say that because, I do social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying it because you can burn through money so quickly and hit the wrong audience. And if you're hitting the wrong audience, you are never going to get a sale. You are never going to get what you need out of it. And everything that I do with Facebook adverts is I make sure that, I've got the right shoppers, I've got the right age, I've got the gender, because, for instance, say you're selling candles. A female is more likely to buy a candle, a nice smelly candle, than a male.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that from marketing a candle business, and my data comes back, organic data comes back, that 65% of the engaged people on this Facebook page are female. Therefore, your main target audience that's going to get you those sales is going to be female. And you have to target that correctly. And if you're just going to target everyone, then say goodbye to your money because it's just going to be gone.
Right. Yeah. So you really got to narrow down that niche.
Yeah. As much as I hate to narrow that down, but it is one of those things. You've got to have the right behaviors, the locations. Like, say there's a very poor area and you're selling a super high-tech cinema room. Someone in that area is never going to be able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're targeting areas that have the higher income, you're more likely to get a sale. So whenever people want to do Facebook adverts, I'm like, please talk to me and please pay me to do it, because I don't want you wasting your money. I don't want you burning through money that, in some cases with startups, small businesses and that, they just don't have it and they need the targeting to be correct.
And I'm certain that there's a lot of people that will line up right behind you and say the same thing. And that's the people out there that have done and made those mistakes and have burned through that money. Mm-hmm. and have been frustrated and pounding their head against the wall until they eventually do seek out a professional. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions when people do go into business is if they haven't researched marketing enough, or they don't know that, I'll just throw some posts on Facebook, and because they've seen them, but they don't realize that they have been targeted. So they think that they could just, I'm going to throw, and I myself have made the same mistake, to,
Facebook's
not using the right hashtags or whatever. So.
Yeah, it's insane how precise you have to get it. Like, you see all these gurus and social media experts on YouTube or other platforms going, hey, look, this is going to give you, here's my templated advert. Here's a templated copy. If you do this, you'll get sales. You might, but it's not the right audience for you. using these templated and copied stuff does not narrow your target down, does not give you the target that you've already got. So if you've got a page with some organic data, your data is there for a reason. It's there to help you. So say that you're a business and this templated advert saying that the majority of your sales is coming from men and they're aged 18 to 30. And here's some copy and pasted text. Just do all that. But your data could be telling you something completely different. And that's why whenever I personally at E2E do any type of marketing, I want the data. Give me more data, the better I can make things for you, you know? And even if you don't know where to get that data, you just add me to the page and I'll do it all for you.
You'll find it.
You know, I'll find it and I'll do it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like the main thing that I care about, and from my past experiences, I've seen people ripped off. I've seen people given quick content. I've seen people go to these little places that do social media for £20 a month, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And they, like, in their head, they're going, great, this is a bargain. I'm going to get all of this done. I don't have to think about it. But if you go to someone who's actually made a price list of something that's, you know, there's value in what we do. My copy is not just copy and pasted. I sit there for ages going through your website, pulling little quotes, putting information together, rewording it, because people want to know what your business is about. On top of that, with the graphics, I make sure everything's branded and it's clear, and the colors and the fonts, everything is in line with your brand. Because I think it's now up to about 8 people, or at least people have to see your site about 8 times or your brand 8 times before they even think about purchasing from you. So even if you just let one post a week slip without your brand, that's potentially missing a client. So it's a challenge. You've got to do it the right way. And doing it the right way, as much as I would love to do it for free, it costs money. And doing it the cheap way, well, you might get sales, but you're not going to get the level of dedication, the care, and the fact that when I work with someone, it is working like a partnership. I want to know your business. I want to know what's going on. You know, if you get a new dog that is the new office dog, I want to know about it because that needs to go up, kind of thing. I'm not there just going, give me your website and I'll pull information from page A and page B. No, I want to know you as a person and what your business is, because that's hugely important.
And that's where the value comes from, because there are those companies out there that'll just do generic, and I think that's the ones that you're talking about, the £20 a month, that'll just, do some generic posts for you. And they're basically, they're not really a social media anything. They're just making posts for you or
they're
whatever.
just making posts for the sake of making a post.
And your post is going to be worded the same as their other client. That's the social media, whether people want to admit it or not. And when I say people, I mean people from my generation, that we didn't grow up with social media, so there's still a lot of new things. Like I still sometimes like I look at some of the I say kids, I shouldn't say kids, okay, so I look at some of the younger people, and I literally wonder why they put so much energy and investment personal in their personal lives. Like, I knew this one guy, and I'm not going to say his name, but I know that he spent probably at least $10,000 on trying to become famous on Instagram. Like, this was literally like that important to him, and it was, trying to get the new clothes, and his whole goal was, of course, to become an influencer and to get, other brands like Nike or whomever, to notice him. And he wasn't a very handsome man, or he isn't a very handsome man, I should say. But he's a great guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, but I thought that was insane. I thought that was literally and I don't know what he's doing now. I mean, this would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm not. So I think influencers do have their place. Um, but you again with these social media people, you'll find that these social influencers, you'll find that they've either paid to be in this position, they're showing you all of the little highlights, and they're not showing you like the real life facts. Like they could still be living, they'll show this photo of this gorgeous mansion, but the reality could be they're still living at home. Um, you've also got, they do have their place in terms of products, but again, it's another cost that I think is more for the bigger brands than it is for small businesses. Because influencers, let's just say that if someone's following someone, when an influencer's paid to do something, not just because they have to say they've been promoted, but because they're over enthusiastic about a product.
well,
Um,
it's like, okay, so you take well, I probably shouldn't mention too many brands, but so let's just say like a famous sneakers, the one I might have mentioned before, and they see that somebody on TikTok or somebody on Instagram has 18 million followers, and they send them a couple of pairs of shoes. What's that cost them? Like,
yeah, that's
20
nothing.
bucks, you know?
Yeah,
So now this person is doing their advertising for them for the cost of a couple pairs of shoes.
yeah,
Which I to me that's laughable, but it works.
yeah. It works. It has its place. But if
Mhm.
you're a small business or starting up, do not, unless of course you're super good friends with an influencer who'll do it for free, do it for nothing, and you will get a return. Don't go down the route of influencers straight away. You need to build your organic, engaged following first,
Mhm.
because that's where not just your first sales, but your recurring sales and your recurring customer pool, if you will be, and
So do
that's
you
what's going to keep you going.
so would you say that then that's your specialty then is getting the organic uh
I'd say
impressions, I guess?
my specialty is raising your awareness, which is your brand, getting it out to people who might be interested. Um, I like to make the content. I enjoy making graphics, no matter what the product is.
Mhm.
I'll always find a way to make it weird and wonderful and fun, or corporate and minimal, depending on the client. Um, but I quite pride myself. Like one page at the moment has got only 30 likes. It's not many likes, but its reach is over 5,000 people. So your page likes mean nothing. It's just a number to make you look good. The reach is so important. I've got another page that's sitting at a few likes, but it's reaching over 8,000 people regularly. And it's that regular reach with people who are kind of interested that's highly important. I don't really count page likes, I count reach. So you'll find people that are focusing on, oh, I need so many page likes or I need so many followers. Don't focus on that. It's gonna just upset you.
So the like okay, so I'm looking at my last LinkedIn post that I made 8 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a funny meme I found. It's Monday, try to keep it light. And I got 306 likes, 12 comments, and half of those are mine, replies.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here it says 3,675 views of your post in
Yeah,
the
that's
feed.
your organic, that's your reach. So those are
So that
people that will have stopped and looked at it. These are people, they might not be totally engaged, but they know you're there now.
mhm. So
And
then
that's
that's the
what's
goal,
important.
obviously, right? Is to keep, just to stay on the radar.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you could have tens of thousands of page likes. You could have tens of thousands of likes. But it means nothing if you're not reaching people. If you're just reaching the same pool again and again. you're eventually going to dry the pool out. So although your organic pool is very important, it's going to become your recurring clients. This is not saying that you're going to get a sale every week or every month. You might get a sale every few months from them, which is fantastic. But you need to reach outside of your pool to get the full potential. So the fact that you've got over 3,000 people seeing that post is you've probably got at least 80% of those people haven't seen you before, and they now know you exist, which is so important.
But you see, so that's the important thing, and that is why companies like yours and people with your knowledge like you are necessary and are needed in business. Because then if I scroll down and I look at another post, I got like 20 likes and 37 views. So two posts or three posts in a row, one is obviously hitting some sort of target. And that, for me to sit here and to try to figure it out, well, I just don't have the time. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the knowledge to even, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Now, of course, at Telework PH, we have a marketing, department. So I could always talk to them, but, and I will, you know what I'm saying? And we do work on those kind of things. However, they work on, other things, than my posts on LinkedIn. So, but that's the point is that is the struggle. It really, really is, because when you get on LinkedIn and you get on Instagram and you think you got some great content, it is such a bummer, man, when you're like, you check the next day or you check in a few hours and it's like crickets, zero, nothing, nobody liked it, not a single comment. And it's like, come on, man.
But your reach could be a lot higher, which is, it is a bummer. It's an absolute bummer. But like, I've got posts on our personal Instagram. It's maybe got 2 or 3 likes. It's a pain because Instagram, it's likes only.
Mhm.
But the reach on that is over 100 people. So, instead of reading likes, I now read reach. And I will always read reach because, one, I know that it's working. And two, this reach is people that don't know about us or are now starting to know about us. And, if you're marketing to the same people all the time, eventually they'll get bored.
Right.
So it is a balancing act of having your organic pool to fish in and reaching outside of that. And unfortunately, I don't care how many people say it, there is no science behind social media. There is no maths. You have your data, yes. You can play with the data, yes. But ultimately, you cannot predict what a human behavior is. So
Right.
one week, shoes could be big. The next week, burritos.
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
no predicting the human behavior. You've also got things outside of, so I plan a month each time for marketing because, one, there's a lot going on and I need to be flexible. And having that month of rough ideas planned out means that I can pull things out if I need to and add something new. And it also gives a very rough idea of what's going out. And it keeps the client as well in control. Like, they know what's going out. If there's change, I let them know and I put it out. Especially if it's time sensitive, I'll have to put it out like straight away. So time sensitive can be things like something that's happening in your network, something that's happened in the business, something that's happened in your industry. These are things that I will not ultimately know about unless you tell me, because I cannot be a master of your market kind of thing, like your industry. I can't know what's going on all the time. Whereas you are experiencing, like the client is experiencing that market. They're experiencing that sector. So they'll have the people that they talk to, they'll have the updates, they'll have notifications for their news. And if there's something major in the industry that's updated, I want them to tell me. Because I could have as many notifications as I want, but I mean, I'm looking at, just for E2E alone, I'm looking at marketing, data, policy changes, GDPR, social networking, graphic design, databases, PHP, coding, all of that stuff just for E2E. So how am I meant to see what your industry updates are on top of that?
So you see that's an important point too, because many businesses may be under the impression that they're just going to hand over their social media marketing to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that you'll turn them into superstars without being engaged. They need to be engaged in those conversations,
Yeah.
and having those conversations on what what kind of content, or what what, like you said, what's going on in the industry that needs to be focused on.
Yeah,
Correct.
because they'll know if their business is up for an award. Say,
Mm-hmm.
I won't know that because they'll get the email before it goes live, kind of thing. And that's a time sensitive thing that you want to put out near enough within, I'd say, an hour or the first few minutes of getting that email. So I need to know that, because I'm not going to have access to your emails at the end of the day. I don't want access to your emails. And
yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
don't take over your social media. The way I see it is that we work in a partnership. I will not answer the messages on your social accounts. Why? Because one, I don't want to give false information which is damaging to your company. I don't know your business. You will know your business. You will know your offers. You will know how low you can cut a price. You will know what offers you can do. You will know that. I will not. I might answer a comment here and there if I think there's a major issue and you've got to do it within a certain time. Say it's a complaint, you have to do something very, very quickly. But other than that, it's up to you, because people don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to the business. They want to talk to the person behind the business, or
and
someone who's
that's
part of the business.
and that's where they need to call me and set up a virtual assistant to
Exactly. They'll call
to
you, they get a virtual assistant.
That's right.
Because I have found these days there is a bit of a confusion, because some virtual assistants will do everything. And some are absolutely amazing at it. Some are great at just answering comments and messages and schedules. But you'll find at some point the targeting's not right, because they will be all over the place.
Right,
And
and
it's
that
not to say that in a mean way. It's just they're there to answer, they're to handle it for you. But your targeting needs to be correct.
everybody's trying to reinvent the mousetrap, and I do get a lot of calls from people that, of course, we have virtual assistants that are have experience with
Yeah.
social media management, managing your social media, making the posts for you, setting up the schedules and everything else. But when it comes down to the SEO and the targeting and stuff like that, well, that goes into a higher a higher level. It depends on how invested do you really want to be in getting to the market and winning at the business game. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You have to be invested. You have to be willing to go the extra mile. And if you're going to try to cut corners, well, that's going to show, because it's going to be very difficult to beat somebody else, i.e., your competitors, when they're employing all of these tools against you,
Yeah.
because their
And
job is to beat you.
yeah, it's like it's at the moment we've got a lot of people in lockdown who are really struggling. And me and the guys are trying to figure out ways that we can provide services at a decent rate that covers our costs, but still benefits the client. So like we're going to be doing graphic offers and some website offers soon. We're just writing them up right now. So that's definitely a reason to follow us for our offers that we'll have going on. Just a cheeky wee plug there. But like we're not a big agency. There's 3 of us. Our skills overlap. So like I do the graphics, the marketing. I do a lot of the networking as well. I'm usually, I guess in a way, I'm sort of the more social butterfly out of all of us. Then my 2 business partners, one does all of the website coding and things because I don't understand it. someone else does networking, but altogether, they're not networking, but like the servers and such, the things that I don't understand, the magical, invisible connections, seems to understand how they all work. So all three of our skills overlap. And because all three of us are together and we work together as a team, when it comes down to your marketing and your SEO, every bit of social media marketing I do, if I have access to your website or my guys have access to it, we can do a lot more, because there's things like Facebook Pixel, which we can set up and it can help with retargets, which is people who have maybe visited your site, clicked off it, and then Facebook Pixel picks up on that and can push your content to them, which is excellent. But I can't do that without access to the site.
Right.
And my guys can actually embed the code for you into the website, so it's there. And then I do all of the complicated back-end setup of if I want to record people's clicks, if I want to record people's cart, like if they've gone to the cart, we could see where people have dropped off. Maybe they've gone to the cart, but they've not clicked purchase. From all of that data, you can also build a funnel. And please, for the love of God, do not let people sell you just a funnel, because it's everything you do in business to get your brand, to get yourself out there, is technically a funnel. So please don't fall for that. I've had before in the past in different positions. I had a client give me their sales funnel PDF, and I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "I paid £500 for it," and I'm like, "Yeah, you've been scammed, by the way." So please don't fall for that. Please, 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 if you're a small business and starting out, don't fall for the quick Fiverr jobs. I've had clients come back who have had logos done that can't be trademarked. Why is that? Because it's from a template and someone else has got a similar logo.
Yeah.
And someone else and someone else and someone else. And you
Yeah,
also don't get the right files as well. I've noticed that some people just get a JPEG and that's it. That is not going to do you. You need the PNG, you need the
You
EPS.
need the PNG, absolutely. Yep.
So you really have to watch out. I usually go, if it's too cheap, if it looks cheap and it's too good to be true, as the old saying is, it is too good to be true. Something's gonna happen somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and I mean it's like, and I mean the same thing. I get to plug our services. I mean the same thing goes along with our services, like with the BPO versus the freelancer. There are a lot of amazing freelancers out there that will give you great service, and I will never ever take that away from them. But then you also got the the people out there that learned a little bit of Canva or learned a little bit of this, and then they hop on Fiverr, they hop on Upwork and promote these services. And God bless them for being entrepreneurial, but you do have to be careful. And if you got somebody that's like $2-3 an hour, well, why are they $2-3 an hour? Well, they're trying to be competitive, they're trying to undercut everybody else, and obviously they just might not have as much value or be able to provide as much value as the person who has the higher price. You are going to get what you pay for. So
it's the same if you look at cars, for example. You pay £200 for a car, and a couple of weeks down the road, the wheel falls off or something blows up in your face. Well, you've got what you paid for. You got an old beat up car. And then if you pay a little bit more for it, say £2,000, then you've got a car that it might have its bugs, but it's running and it's doing what you need it to do. There might be some bumps in the road, but the car's fine. It's doing what it needs to do. And then if you buy a brand new car, it's just easier.
that you got that's a good way to put it. So let's talk about fudge and the tagline going down. What is it again? I'm sorry.
Following the rabbit down the hole of social media content.
Following the rabbit down the hole of social media. And fudge. Now, you said you could talk about fudge all day long.
Yes, I can. I can
So,
talk about my boy all day. Um, Backstory: he's a rescue. I had lost my previous rabbit lady. I've got a tattoo of her on my arm, and she was a huge support to me emotionally, mentally, and also was like one of my best friends ever. Um, so I unfortunately we had to put her down because she had echiniculi, which is a very horrible disease which attacks the nervous system. So we had to put her down at a very, very old age. She lived to like, I'm pretty sure this rabbit lived to like 10 years old. She was a fighter. So we lost her and I felt lonely. So we got Fudge. But we didn't just get Fudge, we got Treacle. Unfortunately, we lost Treacle last year. And I now have my Fudgy boy. Fudge is a grumpy, grumpy old man. He will let you pat him for a little bit, probably about a minute. I think the most I've got out of him was 2 minutes before he basically told me to go away, which is a little nudge and a little thump of the foot. Go on, away with you. But he's very sweet. He's the sweetest rabbit you'll ever meet. He's never stole food. You give him food and he gently takes it from your hand. And one of the most amazing things about Fudge is he is completely blind. He cannot see
really?
at all.
Wow.
But he can navigate around the house. He's got a cat flap where he can go outside and he can navigate around the garden. He knows when it's time to come in. He knows when it's time to eat. He can use the litter tray. This is a completely blind rabbit that's overcome absolutely everything. Lost his pal, who was kind of his support when he lost his sight. He overcame that, and he's just a huge inspiration to me because here it is. He's classed as a disabled rabbit because he can't see. He's getting a little bit arthritic, but nothing's stopping him. Nothing at all. And I'm absolutely amazed by it. And I posted a video about Fudge and how he's a huge support to me, and that got a lot of traction. Got a lot of people wanting to talk to me. Not about business, but just about Fudge, which I was more than happy to talk about because I do love my boy. And since then I was like, I need a brand. I need a rabbit brand. So bear in mind, I've got lady tattooed to my arm. So I was like, I need a brand. Right, what name do I like? And I've always loved the name Squiggle because it's like a squiggly line. But I also thought it would describe this thing that Fudge does where he like tenses up and wiggles. So he kind of squiggles, he kind of squeezes. So I was like, Squiggle. And I spent months sitting there going, I cannot get this rabbit brand right. I cannot get the rabbit right. I can't. And then one day I was about to give up. I just chucked my arms in the air and I went, oh, I've already got the brand. It's bloody tattooed to my arm, isn't it? It's my own design as well. So I've used Fudge's sort of colouring in the logo and things. And it's purely for LinkedIn and it's purely for my fun content. Because my animals mean so much to me. It just felt right. And I've played with LinkedIn a lot to get my page to where it is. And I had a very boring headline, just a very generic social media graphic designer. Cool. Right, that's what you do. But I've never had as much interaction as I have now. I've got my little bunny beside my name. I've got the sort of Alice in Wonderland reference. But also it's kind of a reference to social media that there's so many different paths to go down. And it's not a science, it's a maze. It's trial and error at the end of the day, because sometimes it works for one brand, it doesn't work for another. And I love Alice in Wonderland, and I just love the idea of, it's an excellent analogy, I think, is the drink me and eat me scene, where she has to eat something to get taller and drink something to get smaller to just get through this door. And that's what I feel like you're doing with social media, is you have to look at the situation around you, read the data, and try and get big or small to get through that door. And And then maybe later down the line, you need to be bigger. So you got to eat something and get bigger. And then later on down the line, you might need to be smaller again. So I think Alice in Wonderland's kind of got it down pat for your social media in a way. Because everything she has to go through is trial and error.
Well, that sounds like it's working out well for you, that like all of that just kind of came together by some divine plan with, you know, the rabbit and going down the rabbit hole. And I like it. And like I said, that, you know, that one video that you posted is the one that made me take notice. And I had seen some of your other content before, not that I was ignoring, but I was one of your views before you know, it made me you know, stop. And like, so real quick, take us through a journey. Like if you know, somebody after hearing this podcast, you know, wants to get a hold of E2E, what will they expect, you know, as soon as like that first email or that first phone call or however, what kind of journey can they expect from the beginning to, you know,
so
E2E is end to end, so go end to end.
Yeah, go end to end. We like to also say that we're shaping the future of the internet because, I mean, we're trying. We're trying. We've got some really cool back end systems that we're working on. It's not quite ready yet. And we're trying to make things as easy as possible for people because we don't think technology needs to be difficult. It really doesn't. And it needs to be accessible because at the moment I've got a huge hate for Clubhouse because I'm on Android and I don't have anything Apple, so I hate it. Yeah. Mostly because I can't be part of it.
I haven't even checked it. I just hear people talking about it and yapping about it, and I'm just like, I just discovered Reddit last week, so I don't really know what it is.
And with all of the ranting and raving of it, I can't be bothered with it anymore. But I digress. So E2 Studios, we really kind of pride ourselves on the fact that the work that we do is more of a partnership. We do not want to give you a blanket solution. We want to give you a solution that works for you. So like social media, it's a partnership. I want to know what's going on with you. You know, maybe there's a personal development that's super important that you don't think is important, but I can see the value in it. So social media wise, it's a partnership. I'm the one that will be working with you. I'll be making the graphics, the copy, and how it starts is usually an email to our website or connecting with me on LinkedIn, which I'm always open to. Just please make sure that you put like a little note on the connection because sometimes I just delete the ones that don't have notes because a lot of the time they're spam. You know, and I'll chat with you. I want to know about your business first. We'll do like I guess some people call it a discovery meeting, but I just call it a normal chat. Where I want to get to know about you, what you're wanting to achieve from social media, because some people don't want the paid adverts, they don't want sales, they just want their brand awareness to grow. So I'm not going to try and sell you paid ads. I'm not going to sell you what you need to do. I'm there to chat with you and make sure that we're the right fit. Because I don't want to promise you anything. And I won't promise you anything. I will tell you as it is that if an idea doesn't work, it's not going to work. We're not there to be the yes men at the end of the phone. We're not there to do quick content. We're there to do proper, decent stuff and do absolutely everything in our power to get you going. Sometimes that doesn't work. If it doesn't work, we have another chat. We go, right, here's what the results are saying. Here's what the data is saying. So we're going to approach it in a different manner. Like I say, I don't care what people say about it being a science or a maths problem. It is trial and error because you cannot predict the human behavior. You never know what the next trend is, so you've always got to keep on top of it. And that's why I pull so many late nights, because one night it's something else, and then the next night it's something completely different that's not got no connection whatsoever. And I do my best to keep up with it. I see what's working for your competitors. If it's working for your competitors, we'll one-up it. We'll do it your way. We'll do it your company's way. It'll be in line with your company and your business values. like I say, it's not a blanket solution. It's not hand it over to us and you've got no control over it. I want your feedback. I want you to say, I don't like this, and then tell me why you don't like it, because I cannot read your mind. As much as I would love to read your mind, or maybe not, I'm still not sure on that. There is some dark places in people's minds that I don't want to go. I need to know. I can't just go send you an email with a bunch of work and then you go, don't like it. I'm like, okay, tell me why. What do you want to achieve from it? The more feedback I get and the more data I get from you, the better the partnership is, the better the end result is. And that's what I want. And then when it comes to websites, so we do fully custom coded items, which is I do the design separately, send it to my guys, and my guys somehow make it a living thing. I don't know how it's done. It's just absolutely outstanding. And we also do stuff like on WordPress, because we are totally aware that times are very, very tough. And we want to offer solutions for people that'll help. And we found that we can do some stuff like I've got a little bit of a background with WordPress, and we've built some of our own stuff, which means that I can build the website, and then the guys can come in the back of me and change whatever needs changed. So you're not getting the full custom coded solution, but you're getting something, again, that we tailor to you. And we're looking at other options to try and make it even more affordable. But at the end of the day, we're a business as well, so we've got to make our ends meet as well. Just remember that
Absolutely.
that person behind the screen is trying to make a living as well. So that's another thing. If someone's pricing so low, how can they afford it? At the end of the day, it's tough. And we're also looking at. We've noticed a lot of people like crafters go on Wix or Shopify platforms. I have done a whole blog post about these sort of marketplace platforms versus your own e-commerce site, which is free for anyone who wants to read it, and that's just at e2estudios.com. That's there to try and help you. We do little nuggets of advice when we can. We will be doing FAQ videos as well to try and help. But we can only help so much. We do need to get business in. And that's the main goal at the end of the day, is to get business for us and business for you.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there comes a point you got to draw the line when you're giving value. I mean, of course, there are people that honestly want to, but might not be able to afford your services yet.
Yeah.
But that when you offer that value, and this goes for businesses across that can also do the same thing, and it's something that I try to do too, is offer as much value as I can in my posts and my blog posts and whatnot. But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to, it's time to do the deep delve, like that. We can give you the surface. We can give you some tips on what you can do yourself. But just like you said, and that really strikes a chord with me, is how you say how the trends change, because as soon as I get set up for one trend, I see that it's completely gone. As soon as I learned how to do slideshows on LinkedIn, nobody was doing them anymore. It was like totally it was like I was like, yes, I finally figured it out. Look at this slideshow, and I'm like, no, nobody's doing that anymore. That's yesterday's newspapers,
Yeah, and it's something like you can be on top of the trends. You could be putting trend after trend out there, but at the end of the day, the trend might not be tailored to what you're looking for. It might not work for your business model. It might not work for the type of clients that you have or the engagement you want. So yeah, the trends are great. They're fun to bandwagon on, but sometimes it's just not worth it. And I've noticed from past experience and in-house positions that you'll find a lot of people just follow trends and bandwagons. And yeah, they get a lot of traction, but do they get the sale? Probably not. They might get noticed, But at the end of the day, your social media is there for you to make a sale, to make your business grow. And that's what we want
So
to achieve.
so tell me, in your opinion, in your lifetime of studying like social media and marketing, what do you think has been the best one you've ever seen? Like, the best, I don't know, whether it be ad or campaign or slogan, or what do you value the most?
Authenticity. It's easy to
Mhm.
say, it's not so easy to show or act on. Um, if you're going to be a business and you want to do something for your local community, don't say it, show it by your actions. Um, I know there's one company that I work for that said they would do sponsorship for a community. Nothing's ever come of it, kind of thing. So
Mm.
being authentic and following through with stuff that you're doing is hugely important, and that's what people will take away. It's like if you go to a local football team and go, right, I'm sponsoring your kit, get in touch with me when you're ready. They get in touch with you and then you just ignore them. That community will remember that and they will tell their friends about it, and it's going to keep going because bad publicity spreads quicker than good publicity, and people will
Absolutely.
always remember a bad review. So be authentic and follow through with what you say, because you could advertise that you're the best company in the world to work for, that you treat your staff like family. But if you're not showing that and you're not actively taking the actions to do that, it's going to become obvious that you're just all show and tell. And
Yeah, you gotta
that's,
you gotta live up to what your website says. You have to live up to what you're posting on social media, and because you just reminded me of a situation I was in last year with my bank,
mhm.
um, where they made all of these claims on their website and on their Facebook page and everything else, and I'm like, this is not even you at all.
Yeah,
Not even a little bit, not a trace
you know,
of
and
what you're saying
yeah,
is what I'm
it's
experiencing.
it's terrible because it also comes down to like your brand trust and the trust in your product. If you're promising that you can do XYZ and you don't deliver that, then your trustability in this company is gone. It's why whenever I work with someone, I don't promise them these results. I say we can try and aim for these results, because again, it comes down to you can't predict human behavior. And I don't want to promise someone the world. I don't want to promise them, say that I'll get 1,000 new followers. I will not promise that because it might just not be the right time for that particular product. Or at the moment, everyone's obsessed with some particular celebrity doing something.
Hmm.
So that audience
Right,
is distracted. So I'm
right.
not going to promise
Elon
you,
Musk.
yeah, I'm not going to promise you all these results. I'm not going to promise you super fast deadlines. I'm not going to promise anything. I'm going to tell you what I can do. I'm going to give you the results at the end of the month. I'm going to talk through it so that you understand it, because I don't want to be that company and I don't want to be that person that promises you these results and I can't get them. I would hate to
You
do
know,
that.
that's along the same lines as my job as business development manager. It's really a kind of a $10 uh, title for salesman. I'm a salesman, although I'm not a salesman because I'm not very good at it. But I am good at being a business development manager. And I am good at talking. And I've had some people that I've tapped onto for advice, and they're like, well, you got to say this and you got to say that, and I'm like, I can't, because that's not me. That's not authentic. That's not. If I say that, it's just going to sound fake.
Yeah.
You know, because why? Because I sound fake to myself saying it.
Yeah,
When
exactly. Like,
I
I'm not a
it's not.
salesperson at all. I do networking events because I generally want to know about people's business and what they're doing, kind of thing. And if my services are able to slot in and help them, awesome. But if not, oh well. It's another connection. Maybe they'll remember me. Maybe they'll refer me, or maybe there'll come a point where I can refer business to them. And I try to be honest and open. I try to be, well, within reason. There's things people don't want to know, and you shouldn't advertise it. Like one good example recently was this lady put a post out, which I'm not going to say her profession, but for her profession, it was very sort of contradictory. And an individual that had this particular disability that she was kind of making fun of spoke out against her. So she, in her profession and in what she was posting, was not being authentic. She was pretending to give this sort of caring side of her. And then she went and did this. And as soon as she got called out for it, she wouldn't apologize. And she's like, oh, I don't need to apologize. Meh. Yeah. And someone with that particular disability called her out. Now they're being authentic to themselves because they're going, right, I've got this and I'm not happy with what you've said. And here's why. Kind of thing. Whereas that person is going, I care about things, but not really. And people remember that. People remember the ones that are open and honest and stand up for things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just posting crappy memes like a 13-year-old that's just discovered memes in social media, people are going to remember that as a negative. So
yeah, there's no value to the content.
exactly.
I mean, it's like, of course, I struggle for content some days. I'm like,
Everyone does.
as we, it's like you will probably preach that consistency is the key when it comes to social media, and you
I would
pretty much
say
said that, but not in a
it's more consistency of brand and what you're putting out. But like if you miss a day of posting, you can make that up with a different day. But it's being who you are, showing what your business is about, showing the brand that's important, being authentic.
So let me ask you a question then. So suppose you're running late. It's been a busy day, but you're trying to stay consistent with your social media, and you just don't. You're just plumb out of ideas. You're just dry. All right.
Yeah.
And this is saying that you don't have somebody like you, but just as a tip.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be better to just go ahead and skip that day, or to like grab some crappy quote and put it up there?
Just skip it. You want what you're putting out to be decent. You want it to be thought out. You don't want to just grab something and go, all right, that's funny, let's put it up. Because the likelihood is, say it's a particular picture that's funny, the likelihood is someone's already seen it. And they've probably seen it 100 times.
So you're saying that it potentially it could be more damaging to put up, something that you're throwing up, because it does, it makes it look like you just don't care.
Yeah. It looks like you've grabbed the first thing possible and just chucked it out there. Mm-hmm. Like if you're genuinely struggling to write something, I'm all for going, let's put the brake on it and we'll post another day. You can't be so harsh on yourself that you think you have to post every single day. With my clients, I do not post every day. I stagger content because in between those staggered days, you could post something important to you or important to your industry or something like that. And it stops you just spamming your organic following. And it's also going to lower your reach. Because if you're posting every day and you're not getting that interaction, the algorithms are going to go, right, why are we looking at this? Why should we push this? You
see, that makes perfect sense, because it's like I have some friends on Facebook, that post constantly, just like 20 times a day, and and after 2 or 3 posts, you're just tired of seeing their stuff.
Oh yeah.
and you're just like breezing through it, like give me somebody else. But so when you're a little more, I'm not going to say sporadic, but when you're just a little more strategic, I guess, with your posts, then I guess they would tend to stand out. Like, oh, I haven't seen this guy in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
What's he got to say?
I do a lot. So on my personal accounts, I do a lot of sharing of posts and things, because it's stuff I find interesting. But when I do a post as me, as Eilidh, posting about rabbit or something, it gets a lot more interaction because I haven't gone and spammed them with stuff. You've got to try and find the right balance for your business. Like some people, Monday to Friday is going to be your prime posting time and you want to take advantage of it. So maybe stagger it and maybe do a post in the morning and a post at night on certain days, but make sure there's a gap because I don't want to. Like if I'm seeing, so even for E2E, if I'm seeing E2E's posts every day, I'm going to get bored. I'm going to go, all right, cool. It's that again. Whereas if I'm seeing someone's content that I haven't seen in a while, or they've got it scheduled so it's hitting prime times, then I'm likely to see it. Unfortunately, I'm one of those users that's outside of prime times, so I always get the weird stuff. But that staggering your content has a better effect because it might get a lot of interaction a few minutes after you've posted it, and that can actually last longer because the algorithm's seeing that content straight away, getting these reactions. And then I know one post I did about the NHS, which was a little bit controversial, but not too much. That has been up for like over a month, I think. And I'm still getting the occasional hit here and there. So staggering your content can really have like a long-term effect. I'm waiting for someone else to jump on it and see it and start it all up again because that would be quite funny if it happens. But I found that staggering the content, being genuinely myself, talking and making sure my posts are genuine me and my thoughts and that. Although I try to keep politics, religion, all of that stuff out because I don't have a foot to stand on and I don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But if you talk about something you're passionate about and something you care about, people will react to that. So, like, literally, it always says be yourself. Be yourself at an interview, be yourself when you're doing this, be yourself. The reason it's said so much is because it is what's getting that interaction and it is what people are relating to.
I made a post and I'm looking at it now. And this was 3 weeks ago. And it was just a like it's like one of those jumble puzzles where you got to find something in there and it's like, where is the car? And I posted it on there and I didn't even use a hashtag. Did I use a hashtag? Yeah, I put Sunday thought, Sunday read. And so I just put little Sunday puzzle for relaxation. And I got 38,000 views on that. And 48 comments.
It's insane how just these little things pick up. And
it's crazy.
Like the bigger brands, yes, they get away with pushing their product and that, but that's because they've been established for years. Like people need to remember that these people have been established for so many years that their brand has got that millions in loyal following. So they can post what?
Right, the brand loyalty, absolutely.
Yeah, they can post whatever they want. Okay, well, within reason, obviously.
Yeah, people are waiting for them to post. What's going to be the next commercial of this or
like
whatever?
A small business or a sole trader or someone, you don't have that loyalty right now. You might have a few hundred that are loyal to you, maybe even 5 people that are loyal to you. So you need to make sure that you're providing quality content, consistency of your brand. Doesn't have to be consistency of posts. Just keep your brand consistent and be authentic. Like if your business is going to sponsor say your business every sale gives you like 5p towards save the seagulls. Why you want to save seagulls, I don't know. You can explain that to me. But as long as you follow through with that, people are going to start following you and finding out more about you. Like, why do you want to save the seagulls? What's wrong with the seagulls?
That's what I was just wondering.
What's wrong with the seagulls? People, it's going to get you that awareness. People want to know what's going on. And another thing that I always like to remember is people are nosy. I don't know how many times there's been an argument on the street, and I'll just, I'll open my window just ever so slightly to hear what's going on. And if you think that people are doing that on their everyday life without thinking, if there's an argument in Facebook, you'll see people just dropping a random comment just so they can follow it. People are nosy. And that's the kind of stuff that people want to know about. They want to know the behind the scenes. They don't care if you failed before. They want to know, I failed. But here's how I failed. People respect that. Like, for instance, my freelance under Eilidh Creates, first lockdown, the few retaining clients that I had left completely. My freelance completely and utterly failed. Why? Well, I wasn't able, because I was working at the time. Well, was losing my job at the time, had to work my notice kind of period that they gave me. It failed. I wasn't able to keep clients. I wasn't able to get the marketing right. I couldn't get my content right. And even though it was working, I'd done some stuff for other people and it was all working for other people, I just couldn't market myself. And it fell apart. Hands up, I failed. However, I maybe cried for a little week about this brand that I made, this website, everything that I'd put into it. But then I went, right, okay. We can sit and moan. We can sit and be sad. Or we can find an alternative. And that's where I was like, right, Teespring, I do not have the money or the overhead space to keep lots of stock. But I want to do t-shirt designs. I want to do designs on merchandise. And I want it to be silly and I want it to be just authentically my designs. And that's why I went with Teespring, because they handle all that for you. But I've gone from a freelance business doing book covers, doing all these wonderful abstract designs, this artwork, to now doing t-shirt design because, one, I want to do it, and two, I've just had to adjust. So because you fail doesn't mean that you can't take a step back, take a breath, and go for it again. And it doesn't mean that people think less of you. People will actually want to know. Like, I doubt, Disney at one point were so in debt and were so close to becoming bankrupt that they reused animations, which can clearly be seen with Winnie the Pooh and the Jungle Book and things like that. You can see where they've reused animation. But look where they are. They almost failed. And this is where they're at. So, I don't see failure as a bad thing. I've always
absolutely not.
Always thought of it as a bad thing when I was at school, when I was at college and university. But now that I'm in the real world, I'm like, you know what? Bigger names, bigger brands than me have failed. So why does it matter if me as an individual has failed and then tried to do something? If anything, I feel that shows that I'm more determined, that I'm a problem solver. So,
you're a survivor, like Fudge.
Yeah, like little Fudge. My inspiration behind everything. So I've always seen people that are like, oh, my business is failing. And I'm like, right, okay. Why is it failing? Oh, I don't know. Right, okay. Step back. Look at your behavior. It comes back down to like looking at your own behaviors, how you interact with things online, because it's likely that a couple million people will interact the exact same as you. And that might be where your market is. So you have to take that step back, look at the business in a completely detached way, and go, right, how am I going to do this now? There's no point becoming emotionally attached to it.
This is golden advice, everything that you've said. And I got to tell you, a lot of the things you have said over the past hour and a half, um, and that's why I've just let you go, because honestly, it goes against the grain of what we might hear some other quote unquote influencers or LinkedIn, how would you put it, experts
Yeah.
would have to say, like, you've got to post every day, no matter what it is. And I'm glad you said what you said, because I find that to not be true.
Yeah.
Honestly,
And
I find I get more engagement when I post 3 times a week than if I post 6.
yeah. And it comes down to everyone's got a life. Everyone's got something else that they need to be doing. And you'll find that a lot of people are respectful of that. At the moment, you've got mums that are working a business, homeschooling, even dads that have got a business. Sorry, don't want to be sexist. Mums and dads have got a business. They're working at home. They're homeschooling. Why should they slice out 5 minutes of maybe their downtime to make a post on social media? Why should they be stressing over that? You've got other things you need to worry about, you know? And again, that's where like our services, like yours and mine, come into play to help with that. So you don't have to slice that 5 minutes out of your day or that hour
Exactly.
or so ever. But at the same time, with your personal stuff, you don't need to post every day. You don't need to post every hour. You don't post what's right for you and post genuine you-ness, I guess.
I love it. I love it. Now, so we are running out of time, but
Yes.
I did promise you we were going to talk about one of your other hobbies, because it
Oh
is
no.
it is interesting.
It's an odd one.
So I didn't get a chance to actually read the entire thing, but I saw on one of your articles on LinkedIn was about cosplay, and
Yes.
so this is something that you're really into, like Comic
Yes.
Con and
Yes.
and
Yeah, very
those
much.
kind of
I've
things.
got I've got Batman shoulder piece tattooed to me, so I'm pretty much dedicated to the comic book stuff. Um yeah, it was at a point where I was living on my own. I was away from my parents. I was working about 3 jobs on top of studying. Um so I didn't really have much time to socialize. I was just trying to figure out what who I was because it's the first time being away from home. I did not have any confidence about me. I couldn't really like even ordering food at a restaurant. Uh, my friend would sometimes have to order for me because my anxiety got too much. Then I discovered Comic Con. I had been working enough jobs and was covering my rent enough to and my bills to afford a ticket. And I was living in Edinburgh, which is quite central, so I could go to these Comic Cons. I oh, it changed my life. It really did because you're now talking to someone who can talk and be quite passionate and happy about what they do. I'm online, I'm active on everything. If you met me like 3, 4 years ago, you would not be interested in who I am because I wouldn't be able to talk to you. It changed my
You
life.
you wouldn't be doing this podcast,
I wouldn't
right?
be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be active on LinkedIn. I wouldn't be trying to run a business. I wouldn't be doing what I'm passionate about. I would just be kind of hidden in the background. Um, I built my first costume, which was just pre-bought stuff, which was Harlequin, Sergeant Harlequin, who I've later remade with proper nicer things. And then with
That's Joker's girlfriend, right?
yes,
For what?
yes,
So
I
what's the movie? The uh Suicide Squad?
yeah, I don't like
Is that
Suicide
is
Squad.
that the
That
one?
that movie sucks.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Well, I liked it.
the comic book version
I'm
of
not
Harley Quinn is much better. It's much more independent.
okay.
Um, but yeah, it's a community more than anything else. You'll find a lot of people that are there are people who've had difficulty fitting in. Maybe they love anime and that's frowned upon. Maybe they're more into their comic books than they are talking to people, and that's okay. Um, you'll find a lot of people have got some kind of difficulty that they face every day that's in this community. And the support that you get when you build your little bubble is outstanding. Um, I can now get up on a stage and shout and pose in front of hundreds of people, uh, usually hiding behind a mask, but I can still do it. And I'm amazed that because a few years ago I couldn't do that. I couldn't hold my own in an interview. I couldn't talk about what I cared about at all. And then the support, the friends that I made there, the fact that, if I'm really struggling, there's always someone that I can talk to who they might not fully understand. They might not sympathize with me, but they're there.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sure a lot of people will find that in their own communities. And it's just finding the one that you fit in with the most. And I fit in with this one. Um, it's hard to put into words just how much it has changed my life. Um,
Well, it's when you get around the people like for instance, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I've always been a little bit off, a little bit different than most people. But I've gotten along okay, and I was a chef for a long time. But you know when I began to do serious writing, because I'm a writer, doing some
mhm,
serious writing, and I began to meet other authors, and I met uh, you know one author, a friend of mine, Adam. He's been on the podcast. It's like you begin to meet the people, and you're like, yeah, they get it.
yeah,
They understand what I'm talking about, and it's like you go along for so long, you're thinking you're the only one that thinks this way, or like it finds this funny,
yeah,
or whatever. And then you get into that community of people, whether no matter what it could be knitting or burrito lovers,
yeah,
or something along those lines. It doesn't matter. It's just you find those like-minded people that you can connect with, and I think that's what happened with you. And then you were able to then discover that you could open up, and you got to find that confidence.
yeah. And it's so important. Like, there's so many people that I've made friends with that have just changed the way that I think and the way I see things. The community itself has taught me to be a lot more open minded than I originally was. Because I was very closed off. I was like, well, this is my world and this is what happens in my world, and I don't care about what anything else is happening, kind of thing. Um,
Hmm.
but now I often reach out to them. I, every so often, I'll pop a message just to see. I'll be like, yo, you alive? Good, cool. um, you know, and they've all got, it's a very creative community as well. So it kind of falls into the work that I do. But it's also an escape. Like, if I'm having a bad day and I don't know how to handle a situation, there will be a character that I like somewhere that I can pull on and pretend to be. Um, so, like for instance, Dovahkiin is from Skyrim, fights dragons, doesn't talk to anyone really, um, but is still there, takes a hit, and keeps on going. And this is like a character that could be eaten by dragons and then walks out and goes, "Oi, not cool." Um, you know. So if I'm having a tough day, I'm like, right, what's knocking me down? Okay, that's my dragon, and I'll be Dovahkiin for a bit. If I'm got a lot of energy and I don't know what to do with it, hell, Harley Quinn's out. You know, it's not
Rock
a
on.
it's not like a changing of personality. It's just going right. So this character has faced this, so I can do that too. this character's like that. Well, I can do that as well. Not saying like go commit mass murder or anything, but you can take aspects from it to adapt to situations, which is fascinating.
Well, and whatever works, and some people might say that that's odd or strange. I personally don't, but we'll look at other things, more destructive things that people escape to, to try to forget their troubles, or when they have a hard day, they know that they go and they think that getting drunk is going to solve problems and whatnot. And here, I think what you do is you take it and I mean, it's almost like you're taking a step back and looking at it subjectively, that in a way you're saying, it's like, I'm not the only one with issues. I'm not the only one with problems, and people have overcome bigger problems than this.
Yeah. It's something that I try to do. It's something that I try and help my friends and people close to me do. I'm not saying I'm an expert at it. I have days like everyone else where the world can just go away. I don't want interaction. I don't want people. I just want to sit in my room and mope. And that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
But as long as I'm not like that every day, as long as I'm not like that every time I hit a hurdle, then it's fine. You've just got to find your way of coping.
Those are the days that you need to be Ant-Man.
Exactly.
So you get really small and go hide somewhere.
You could be Batman and hide in your cave and talk to bats for a while. And Alfred, because Alfred's a legend. But
oh yeah, you gotta have Alfred. You can't have Batman without Alfred.
Exactly, you can't.
Robin, he can go off on his own on his motorcycle, but you got to have Alfred.
You've got to have Alfred. And you've got to have that Alfred in your life.
Absolutely. But guess what? We got to wrap it up.
Yep.
This has been an amazing conversation. And
awesome.
So why don't you go ahead and people that are listening to this and have made it this far, which I'm certain everybody has, because it's just been really interesting. If somebody wants to reach out to you and get a hold of you and talk about what they may need, how can they get a hold of you and
sure.
What's your preferred method?
So connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm quite easy to find. I'm probably the only one with a rabbit icon behind their name, which is Eilidh Moyes. If you want to contact the company, it's e2estudios.com, which is the website, or you can find us on pretty much most social media channels. We are on Twitter, even though I'm not a big fan of it, but we are there. If you want to email us, our general email is contact@e2estudios.com. But usually LinkedIn is the quickest way to contact me. I will accept pretty much all connections, but please add a note in your connection request, just so that I can differentiate it all. And if you connect with
mention
me,
the podcast. If you hear this, mention the podcast so I know, so she can tell me that, hey, I got something from the podcast. Go ahead, finish.
You got it. And if you do connect with me, I'm not going to give you a hard sale off the bat. I want to know who you are and what you're doing. And that's sort of the premises and the foundations of E2E, is we want to know who you are, what you're doing, what you want to achieve.
Amazing. That's great. So we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so that'll wrap it up for this installment of Telecast PH. I've been BizDev Jeff, your host. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thank you to Eilidh Moyes for taking the time to talk with us today. Now, if you like this podcast, please subscribe, and if you're on the YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. And I'm always looking for great feedback, so comments are welcome. And of course, if you want to find out more about Telework PH and what we do and how we can help your business scale up, all you got to do is hop on over to www.teleworkph.com or hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search BizDev Jeff Thompson or the hashtag BizDevJeff. And as the late great Dr. Wayne Dyer said, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Take care everyone, be safe. This is BizDevJeff, signing off.